At the pace we're going, it would take us 50 years to build enough single-family homes just to cover what happened in Paradise. All right, welcome everyone to our podcast. Really appreciate having everyone tune in. I'm here with Derek Sanderson. How you doing, Derek?
I'm doing fantastic.
Derek is with the EXP. We're actually business partners. We work together in the same office. And we are here to talk today about housing in Chico, supply, demand, new construction, what's selling, what's not, interest rates, the whole thing. We're kind of giving a market update, basically the state of housing in Chico, pretty much. So let's start, Derek. What do you think? Where are things at right now? Give us a little bit of a kind of overview last month, this year. Where are we at?
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody who's been looking for a house is going to know that there's not a lot to pick from. If you talk to any agent, they go, man, there is not a lot to pick from. And the truth is, in July of 2024 was actually a historic month for Chico, but not in a good way. We actually had 66 homes sell in Chico in July. That's ridiculously low. And so...
Because you think about, like, Chico's 100,000 people. 66 people, that's, a small amount to be buying houses.
Absolutely. And we only had 77 homes hit the market. So we've seen a massive decrease in the amount of homes hitting the market, as well as obviously then not as many are going to sell if you don't have that many to choose from.
Right.
So really what we're seeing is that price continue to get driven up because we just don't have inventory.
Yeah, and so how's that affecting basically affordability? Like, what percentage are going over asking? What's out there right now? What's the stats on?
Yeah, absolutely. So in July, 40% of the single-family residential homes that sold went over the list, over the asking price. And if you tease that out and look at the whole year, so year-to-date, January to the end of August, it's the same. It's like 39.5%. So the fact that that many homes are going over asking, that just points to the fact that prices are going up because there's not enough to pick from. And there's a lot of buyers and not so many homes to purchase.
Wow. So 40% of homes for the year going over asking. And there's also a lot of $1 million houses that I see, you got Canyon, and they're not really moving as fast. So it seems like that probably 40% is probably skewed more on the entry level.
Yeah, definitely that first time home buyer. Anything under 500,000 is pretty much selling quick and over asking in the Chico market. Maybe 450 and under, but to be honest, there's not that much inventory in that price range even.
Yeah, totally. And here's the craziest thing. This is so crazy to me because we've worked together on the stats. We've dove deep. We did a presentation for the city on this. We have this all these houses going over asking. It's house prices are up. It's very difficult, but there's this segment of the market that is the most affordable houses you can find, which are condos. Interesting case study with condos. Condos 200,000, house 450, right? Condo 200,000. But you don't have generally a backyard, a garage. You have shared walls, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. It's not always a 3-bed, 2-bath. It's crazy. So even though there's all this demand for housing, 71% of the condos in Chico go under asking.
That's just crazy.
They can't sell them.
It's like polar opposite of single family.
What the heck is up with that?
Yeah. I think it points to the fact of desirability.
Yeah.
What are the kind of houses that people in Chico, people who live in Chico want to continue to live in Chico, what kind of housing are they looking for?
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of dove into some of the numbers. A lot of millennials have been renting their whole life. They don't want to purchase a condo because they're going to feel like they're still renting that apartment. And so there's just not that big of a demand.
Yeah, and I think too, you get to be. I mean, I know for me, when our first house was a 2-bed, 2-bath, no garage, super small dough mill, and it was cool. I loved that house. 1,100 square feet, super small, but it was me and my wife. Then we had a baby. And we had another baby. And then we got tricycles and bikes, and they're out in the rain, and soccer balls and all this stuff. And it's like, I need a garage.
Right.
And I was, honestly, I just got so uncomfortable. You outgrow your house. And it's like, I need that 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage with a yard on some cul-de-sac somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the people who, even though there's a condo for $200,000, it's just not no matter how cheap it is, it's just not quite what the product
Yeah.
that people are looking for.
Yeah, or the ones we're seeing are doing such a significant price reduction, or they come on the market and they just cut out the bottom of the market on the condos, that really, really cheap one will sell, while the other ones just continue to sit and get spider webs.
Yeah, so crazy. So how do we get here? What are some of the factors that basically played in this? There, because it seems like Chico's a little bit worse than other, even Sacramento, Redding. We're not seeing as much of this stuff. I mean, it's still there, but Chico is an interesting case study. How are things with supply, demand, and how do we get to this kind of place right now?
Yeah. I'm a firm believer, and I'll say it time and time again, that Chico is a bubble inside of a bubble. We have a very unique situation in Chico, and there have been a lot of factors that have led to that. Some completely out of our control, some because of the state's involvement with regulations, even local regulations. But we had this thing called the campfire that happened, and over 9,000 homes were destroyed in a matter of a few hours, and it displaced almost 40,000 people. Well, what's the closest city to Paradise and the Ridge? It's Chico.
Yep.
So
that's where everyone's job was too.
Right.
Most people, right? I mean, I think we'd agree. It was a bedroom community, and they commuted to Chico.
Yeah, it tended to be a much more affordable community to buy and live in up in Paradise, and commute up and down the Skyway every day. So we saw a massive influx. So that ate up a lot of the inventory after the fire. And don't get me wrong, I am so happy for the people that were able to purchase in Chico and stay local. I'm happy for the sellers who were able to cash out on their equity and be able to get that move up property, or maybe they wanted to move out of the area. But the truth is, it just ate up so much of the inventory. It actually, our sales rose by 106% compared to the same time the previous year.
Yeah.
So twice as many homes sold in a 1 month period. So, I mean, that just ate up inventory in and of itself.
Right. And I think it's safe to say, okay, 9,000 homes, subtracted from our market in a day.
Yeah.
A lot of those jobs, not all of them, but a majority, I think, of those jobs are probably located in Chico. So you're an architect, you work in Chico, but you live in Paradise, and I think there's a lot of that. How much? I mean, so you look at, okay, we got to add some more houses to Chico or to somewhere. I'd say that we still to this day, since 2018, the campfire to today, we haven't built 9,000 new homes.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, even the plans that have been on the table and approved that got shot down, things like Valley's Edge, that was 3,000 doors.
Yeah.
So even if that was approved and was built out before the campfire, we still would have been 6,000 homes short just from that one event alone.
Right.
So we had the campfire, then, the other C word that used to be a phrase you couldn't say, COVID-19, right? Yeah. So people have to work from home. Their kids are now virtual for school, and they realize, oh my gosh, I don't have enough space in this house. I need something bigger. The government shut down the economy. So what do? They give everybody money, and they lower the interest rates. So now you've got extra disposable income. You need more space, but you've got an interest rate that's so low, you can make that move up. Mm-hmm. Well, the challenge with that is now all those people that bought with that low interest rate, they're locked in. They're not going to give up a 3, 4, 5% interest rate to trade into a 7, 8% interest rate. Right. That's just financially insane to do that.
So we have this crazy situation. You got a bunch of people like me. I'm under 3% on my interest rate. I mean, my house payment is, really affordable because of COVID interest rates. You too. Mm-hmm. We don't want to sell our houses. There's a bunch of people out there with those 3-4% interest. They don't want to sell their house, so they're not selling their houses. Yeah. So we have all these millennials growing up. It's a huge generation. We got baby boomers. We got millennials, right? They're 35. They're having kids, and there's no house for them to buy, and it's making the houses rare, and the prices is going up. Yeah. And here's another thing that we're seeing, and that this might be a little bit of a rant. So we have a limited amount of land here in Chico. We got a green line on the west side, and we have some mountains on the east side, and we have a few special planning areas. We have a general plan of where people can build, because the way I see it, we have to add more supply. 77 houses hitting the market, 100,000 people, right. Less than 0.1% can buy a house statistically. So we got to add more supply. And there's folks out there, and Valley's Edge is a good example. And there's Stonegate, which is just right there. That's probably 1,000 or 2 house. I don't know how many that is, but it's a lot of housing units and apartments. There's housing developments that get presented, which we desperately need.
Yeah.
And Stonegate, I know what they would have started in 2018. They get blasted out because of politics, because of environmental laws and all these things. They could have been building right after the campfire, and they could have hundreds of houses come to the market with when it was 3% interest rates in 2020, and supplied a number of houses to hundreds of families in our community. But because of regulation, because of politics, really, they can't build. And I think it's easy for people to say, hey, look, we don't want any growth. Of course. Like, hey, do you want more traffic or less traffic on your commute?
I want less traffic because, traffic's so bad in Chico.
Yeah, I know, because we're sitting in traffic for half an hour every day. Yeah, right. We miss one stoplight and oh my gosh, the world ended. And I think it's easy to fight new development. It's easy to point to developers and say, oh, these guys, these bad developers. But what we don't realize is that if you don't build housing in one generation, the next generation has no place to live.
Yeah.
And I know people who are even conservatives, and they understand the market, and this is what kind of chaps my hide a little bit. I talk to people on the phone. I said, hey, you should vote for Valley's Edge. We need these houses. I mean, I'm seeing the house price go up is rare. And people say, well, why would I want that? My house value will go down if they build more houses, and I want to protect my house value. Essentially saying, I have mine, and I want it to be rare, and I don't want these folks to have theirs.
Man, but what about their kids? What about their grandkids?
And that's what I say. What about your kid? What are your kids gonna? And they pause. They go, I think at the core of it, we have to be selfless, not selfish, selfless in how we view development. That there are hurting 30-year-olds, and if you sell them and you pitch them all these ideas like develop new houses hitting the market is bad, it's going to hurt them. Absolutely. It's going to hurt them financially. And I know for me, there's something in, especially maybe it's being a man and you have a wife and kids, and it's like, dude, I got to get this garage. I don't know what it is, man. I got to have it. You're making it so hard on these young families to have a house by voting it off. By campaigning against it, by making it, you got people who want to invest millions of their dollars and take major risk. I know developers have gone flat bankrupt because it's extremely difficult to do. And let's just shoot it down because traffic.
Yeah. Or there's not enough affordable housing in it. And what they fail to realize. Well, it's true, because what they fail to realize, if they look at the numbers, is less supply means more demand, which means more unaffordable. Really, the biggest tangible thing that we have control over is creating and producing more product, i.e. houses, for people to buy. That's the only real thing that we have control over. So if you want affordable housing, you actually have to build more housing.
And we've built more affordable housing in the last 3 years, or approved it, than I think all of Chico's history combined. There's more affordable housing going. Every corner is a high-rise affordable housing infill project. I mean, there's a number of them, and there's no large-scale master plan single-family home subdivision that is planned. That's in demand. And affordable housing. Hey, great! I'm for all housing.
Yeah.
But let's supply the entire. Let's not just stifle one area, which is mainly catered to young families, and hurt this demographic at the expense of we could supply everybody. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
And that's the issue that I have.
Yeah. And I think there's the idea of the American dream, that owning that home, building that wealth, having something to pass on to your kids. Right. It's just incredible to think about that we're actually not giving people the ability to actually achieve the American dream anymore. Yeah. Especially in Chico, let alone California.
Yeah. And it's weird that politically speaking, the people who are the loudest about affordable housing. I love affordable. Yeah, make housing affordable. Absolutely. But the people who are the loudest about that and who are shooting down well thought out developments with all kinds of good multifamily, affordable, all this stuff are the same ones that are making housing skyrocket.
Yeah. Yeah, the prices. Absolutely.
By shooting down thousands of houses hitting the market, they're making it rare and expensive. How ironic.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the idea of the housing market is kind of like a diamond, right? And you can look at it from a lot of different angles. It's the same diamond. The truth is, though, you shine light through that, what comes on the other side? It's always going to be a rainbow. The facts will still always lead you to the truth of supply and demand. Absolutely.
That's absolutely right. Okay, so what else do we need to know about housing?
Yeah. So, something that's really important, and you and I have these conversations with our clients on a regular basis, this idea of purchasing power, or how much home can you actually afford? Now, we're realtors, right? We are not lenders, we're not loan officers, we're not licensed in that realm, but to do our job properly, we need to understand that world. And what I think is so important for people to remember is that when we sit down with a first-time home buyer, honestly, any buyer, but especially a first-time home buyer, and we go, okay, how much can you afford every month on your house payment? What is that? And then we connect with the lender, they have the conversation. But interest rates, the effect that interest rates have on affordability, we talked a few minutes ago about the things that we have control over. Supply, we have control over approving more supply. Something we don't have control over is interest rates, but we still need to understand how they affect us and how we got into the situation. So obviously the economy shut down, right? They dropped interest rates. They flooded the market with a bunch of money because nobody's working. Mortgage interest rates, the national average in January of 2021 was 2.75%. So if a buyer was looking at, hey, I want to buy a $450,000 home with 5% down, their monthly payment would have been just over $1,700 without taxes, insurance,
totally
all of that. So completely affordable. I know 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments that you can't get for that.
You own your house. 30-year
Absolutely.
locked in rate, and then after 30 years you pay it off.
Right. So that's low interest rates. Well, what happened in October of 2023? Inflation is absolutely running away, so interest rates start going up. We hit a peak of just over 8% for national average. So
yeah, same house.
So that buyer was approved for $450,000 because they could afford $1,700 a month. Well, let's say they couldn't find a house, and now they're in October of 2023. Do you know how much that payment would be for that same $450,000 house? The only thing that changed was interest rates. Almost $3,200.
Yeah.
An over 80% increase in monthly payment. I don't know anybody, any first-time home buyer that can afford an over $3,000 a month mortgage payment. And then you fast forward to essentially today, we're in the low mid sixes. So again, same person, they didn't buy when it was 2.75, they didn't buy when it was 8%, but they're going to buy at 6.5%. Well, instead of $1,700, they're now looking at $2,700. It's still $1,000 more a month in expense for 30 years.
Yeah.
That adds up.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that as we're looking and trying to help buyers and needing affordable housing for them to be able to get their foot in the door, right? The biggest thing we can do is get the foot in the door. You start building that financial cushion, that home equity. So if we step back and go, okay, if that buyer can afford $1,700 a month and that's all they can afford. So we look at when the interest rates were 8%, they were looking at a $450,000 home before. Brent, do you know how much they could spend on a house for $1,700 a month at an 8% interest rate?
Tell me.
$260,000.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even be able to afford the condos that are currently on the market in Chico today, when they could have been looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot house with the 2-car garage in the backyard.
Yeah.
So it's just important to understand that purchasing power, these interest rates still affect that. And if we had more supply, that would help keep these prices down. So even though that interest rate is higher, it could still be more affordable for them.
Well, I think it's good because interest rates are going to go down. I mean, everyone agrees that in the future they're going to go down. And just like Stonegate was approved in 2017, I believe, and it was approved in 2018. The campfire happened in 2018. Interest rates dropped in 2020, 2021. There would have been, if we would have had those houses being able to hit the market, it would have provided, no joke, the free market, affordable single-family homes. We have to start building now for when the rates are going to go down.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to go down. And if we don't add that more supply, so how many new houses are hitting the market on average? Like last year, how many brand new construction houses hit the market versus resale? Because you could do a resale, you sell your house, go buy another house. So resale is like a previously lived in house. It's not a new construction house. But that doesn't really solve the problem because you're trading one house for another.
Yeah, it's net neutral.
Net neutral.
Yeah, so
and there's no new supply.
Man, in 2023, we had over 700 homes sell that were resale.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
So that's that net zero. We're really not helping supply anything. We only had 145 new construction homes in Chico in 2023.
Yeah, you think about 9,000 burned up, and we had 145. So at that rate, how many years would it take just to supply the house that burned down and get back to where we were in 2017?
A decade. Just under a decade.
No, 10.
Oh, no, you're right.
That's 1,000. It'd be like 50 years.
Yeah.
At the pace we're going, it would take us 50 years to build enough single-family homes just to cover what happened in Paradise.
Yeah. In 2018. And then you continue to add the population growth because people want to move to Chico. Chico is an incredible place to live, right?
Man.
We can't control the population.
Yeah. And we want a place where it's affordable to live so you could spend the money. You're not house broke. It's not like every 35-year-old guy, 30, is spending $3,000 every month on his house so he can't go out to eat or do all these fun things,
Yeah, I tell people all the time when I sit down with them, listen, it's my job to help you get a house, but I don't want you to be so house rich that you're cash poor. That great, you bought this house, but you can't even enjoy it because you don't have any money left over.
Yeah.
So Brent, what are we seeing? We've kind of talked about this, but if people can't afford to live in Chico,
yeah, exactly.
Like what's happening?
And this is what happens. I mean, I have buyers. We write on 3 houses in Chico, get bid out, get bid out, get bid out. We're in a tight market there. And every good deal, every house, everyone wants to see the good deal house. So they're going along with 20 other buyers. So I've had people move to Orrville, Hamilton City, surrounding areas, Paradise, these places, Forest Ranch. They move out of the area. I mean, basically, where houses are much, much less expensive, pretty much. And then they commute in and out. And, to me, every time that happens, they lose community. You lose, you're not a part of the weekends and the other things in Chico. You're in Orrville. Which is cool. Orrville's a great community, but it's so much better to live, work, play in the same city.
Yeah.
I think it's better for the community.
I would absolutely agree. Well, and I can't help but think of even the property tax revenue, sales tax revenue that's lost.
Wear and tear on the roads.
Because they're going somewhere else and spending, they don't go, if they moved to, I've had clients move to Red Bluff and they commute to Chico.
Yeah.
Well,
Portland,
it's Friday. They just got home and they realize, oh, shoot, I got to go to the grocery store. They're not going to come back to Chico to do their grocery shopping, right? Live, work, play in the same place.
Yeah, and so I think what's going to happen, here's my prediction, is you're going to see more development in Orland and Hamilton City and just these rural areas, Corning, these places where you go to the city council in those places, they're like, you want to build? Let's roll out the red carpet. Land is cheap. Permits are easy. What do you want to build? We'll do it because we want the revenue. We want the people. We want to grow. They're business friendly.
And to be fair, Chico has had city councils that had that same mentality. I mean, look at Valley's Edge.
Yeah, it all got passed.
But then you get these small groups of folks that get upset and bring the pitchforks and the torches, and they don't have that in these other communities. For some reason, Chico's kind of this bullseye hotspot where it's preservation, not in my backyard. No, not going to happen.
Yeah, and think of how expensive it is if you're a developer and you go through and you spend, these environmental impact reports, they are a lot of money. Yeah. Oh, and then you got to fight a campaign. Well, that's more money. Then you got to sit on it for 5-10 years. Well, that's more money. Where's the developer going to recoup the cost? No one's going to build if they're going to lose money. No one's going to go through the hassle. Hey, I got a great investment. Give me $1 million and I'll give you back, 800,000 after 10 years. Like, no one is going to do anything with that. And so there always has to be a return for every investor. And to build in Chico, you need investment. And it just makes it more expensive. You fight all these guys all the time. And all the fights and everything gets tied right back into the purchase price of the house.
That's true. And people forget that. Every single lawsuit, every single petition to block housing, eventually something is going to be built. And like you said, the developer has to pass that cost off. They can't eat it.
No.
So they held it for 10 years. How much more expensive? Like you said, Stonegate, they could have had affordable housing for people that are impacted by the fire.
Yeah.
And now if they were to start today, it's not going to be affordable anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just going to continue to get worse and snowball.
And the worst thing that maybe some people would rejoice in is if you just have the developers leave. Then who's going to build the housing? The government?
Yeah,
I'd love to see that. Just kidding.
It's true though.
And who's going to pay for it? And how are we going to have these homes come out of the ground and have great areas? That's the problem. And we need people who understand building, who are good at it, who can figure it out, who can take the risk, who can invest the capital in our town.
Well, and the last thing, you said that are willing to take that risk. There's not a lot of people with millions of dollars available to invest in projects like that. So if you push back against them enough times, they will eventually just give up and say, fine, it's too hard. I'm losing too much money.
Yeah.
And they're going to take that money and invest it in another community.
Yeah.
So, man, I would agree with your prediction. If we don't start building for the future, prices are going to continue to go up, and affordability, it's going to be a dirty word.
Yeah, or we're just going to have like these surrounding communities that are going to grow up. And I've seen other areas, Texas, and you used to drive out into farmland 5 miles. All of a sudden, there's a big old HOA, and it's like, and their houses are 40% less. But it's not the same as having a city where everything's right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the same.
So.
Okay, well, thanks, Derek, so much for coming on. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, where can they find you?
You can find me on my website. I'm on Facebook, Derek Sells Chico. You can just search my name, Derek Sanderson. You can give me a call, shoot me an email. I usually respond fairly quickly. So
awesome. And you can find me, BrentSellsChico.com. All right, well, we'll keep going and solve the world's problems next time.
One house at a time.
That's right. All right.